So let me pick up on some of those things you've talked about in the past 3-4 years that you and I have been working together. We've been focused on a number of initiatives. Number one, when I was vice chair of strategic planning, we began a new planning process that culminated in the 2017 strategic plan that focuses on a clear set of core commitments, community engagement, and a community development model where we use data to set priorities and measure our impact. We're now implementing that plan. Talked about what we've done on the building to create a wonderful, warm, light-infused, and fully accessible facility, and we're now working, as you know, on an $18 million campaign to build a new Holocaust educational institution and museum on the east side of the Kaplan-Feldman complex. You and I have together recognized that the St. Louis Jewish community cannot thrive as an island. It cannot thrive unless the larger community of which we are a part is thriving, and that we have a role to play in advancing the progress and well-being of our region. So we have a lot on our plate going forward, and as we look to the next 5 years, what do you see among the areas that I mentioned and among other areas that you find important? What do you see as our most important areas of focus?
So first of all, the three that you just mentioned are critically important. The finishing of the implementation of the strategic plan, we will have finished the first phase of that, and that needs to continue. Number two, the Holocaust Museum and Learning Center. Thanks to the generosity of Gloria Feldman and Michael Steinberg, of other key investors, we're going to build a new museum to tell the story of our survivors and make it relevant to what's happening today. It's not only a story of the past. It's not only a memory. It has to be a catalyst for understanding what's going on in the world today as well. And the third piece about the building itself and how we as an organization fit into the region, critically important. You won't be surprised, but when you talk about priorities, you won't be surprised. I don't have one or two others. I have 6 others. But just very quickly, number one, Jewish education. We are challenged as a people, and maybe we'll talk about this a little more, that we are highly identified as Jews, but we don't always know what that means, and we don't always have the resources to be fluent Jewishly in our texts and our sources and our history, our culture, our ritual practice, and what it means to be Jewish. Number two, I think a real challenge is how you face growing extremism. And I don't just mean in the general community, I mean in our Jewish community. I mean in terms of polarization around Israel. I mean in terms of polarization around orthodoxy and non-orthodoxy. I mean polarization about everything, where we can't even get together and accept our differences. That is a challenge, and that's going to continue unless we make a conscious effort to say that is not who we are. The community study, I mentioned that before, it's already 5 years old. And it needs to be done every 7 to 10 years, so get ready, folks. I'll just say that I think the modern Orthodox community in this region is at risk, and we need to make that a priority with 2 things: investing in modern Orthodox schools and also in kosher infrastructure. And I'm not kidding about that. If you want to invest and keep a community, you need to give it the resources. It's a challenge. I don't think it's easy or obvious, but I do think that's a challenge. And I would love to see just one last thing, and that is really big, bold initiatives that are doing things and spending money in a different way than we really have. And I think that can come. We have a platform on the strategic plan on it, but something like give every family in the community $5,000 to invest in day schools, in camps, in a trip to Israel. Let them make the choice. Let's give greater freedom. Let's condition people. Let's prime the pump to making Jewish choices in ways that isn't as directive as perhaps we've been before. But so those are just a few of the things that I think are the challenges and what is the potential with the strategic plan, and with Greg Yowitz, who is about to step up into leadership after you get your yes to your no for serving. That means after he's done his... That was not clear, was it? After he's done his board chair service, yeah.
Sounding like a Democrat. I know from your relation...
I've been called worse.
I know from your relationships with other Federation leaders around the country and through your work with Jewish Federations of North America, you're familiar with many other Jewish communities and federations around the country. Do you see St. Louis, do you see our community as being unique in any respects? And if so, what makes us so?
I think it's a little like Lake Wobegon, right? Where all of us are above average and we're a really great community. I think we are different for three reasons. Two that are not specific to us, but have to do with size and location. We are big enough to really do some great things and small enough to actually accomplish the great things that we want to do. And I think that that's true of communities that are in what the federation system calls the bottom end of the large city or the large intermediate range, something around 30 or 40,000 people up to about 100,000 people. The second thing that's unique about St. Louis is the location. We are a Midwest community, and I would extend it to a Southern community or a middle of America community. We are not the coasts, we are not Chicago, and that means something different for us. And for us, it means something about our history as a German community in particular, one of the historic ones that has a lot of infrastructure. And it really gives us the potential to think about ourselves differently. The one way that I do think that we're unique, and my wife and I have lived now in 3 cities, in Philadelphia and Chicago and here. And this is tough love coming at you because I'm on my way out, but we have been in this community for 18 years. And I can tell you the number of times we've been invited to people's homes for Pesach, for Yom Kippur break fast, for Rosh Hashanah dinners, for Shabbat dinners, probably on 2 hands in 18 years. And I said to Miggy, well, that's going to change once I become CEO. If anything, I think it got worse because we went from a community at Wash U, which is used to having a great flow through of people come through. They know what to do with newcomers to a town. And we went to a Jewish community that, frankly, one of the challenges St. Louis has is they don't have a lot of newcomers flow through. They're not used to, it's not a habit. So this is not it sounds dramatic, tough love. It's really just habits. The next time over the next year, when you go to a simcha, when you go and you meet with your friends for Shabbat dinner, for Passover Seder, for break the fast, look around and say, is there anyone who wasn't here last year in the last 5 years? And if you're hosting it, say, who are we going to reach out to that's new to the community? That is a challenge in terms of making us warm and welcoming that just merely takes us to raise that into our consciousness, because I really don't think it's about the people here who are nothing but warm and welcoming. It's just our social habits and our networks that we get involved in.
In defense of our community, we invited Andrew and Miggy for Seder this year, and he turned us down. So.
How long is this going, by the way?